What is the media telling you? And what is the leader saying? Two different perspectives based on two different narratives. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome to the Battle of Narratives, where we discuss from Islamic perspective current events. I'm back with Sheikh Ali Rajani. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
To discuss the letter that was released by the current leader of the revolution, Sayyid Mujtaba Khamenei. A letter that he released on the 40th anniversary of the Shahadah of Shaheed Khamenei. It's an important letter, so we want to finish it off before we move on to the other letters that have been released since then. So Assalamu alaikum to Sheikh, to the watchers, to the listeners, and those watching on YouTube and live. So in the previous podcast, the previous episode, we focused on the first part of the letter, which was about the 40 days of the war and the 40 days of the Shahadat and the different events that happened. Let's dive into the next section where Sayyid Mujtaba actually focuses on the characteristics of Shaheed Khamenei. Now, we had a episode dedicated for the traits and characteristics of Shaheed Khamenei, but I think it's nice for us to focus on the ones that the current leader himself focused on. So
the second part of the letter pertains to the qualities of Shaheed Ayatollah Khamenei that are being pointed out by Sayyid Mujtaba. Very beautiful points, and it's a long list, and like you mentioned, we've already covered this in a separate episode, so we won't go into it in detail. One part that I found really beautiful over here, it's really well worded, it's really well thought over and very beautifully presented, and highlights key parts of this great man's life. Is where he says that what happened in the past few weeks, and this is addressing that, is that after he became Shaheed in the past few months, you can say now 2 months and a bit, a lot of people have been pointing out things about his life that are really beautiful. And there's been a certain focus towards some of the skills and attention he had to arts. Things like, for example, poetry, things like, for example, even paintings and drawings. Was, he'd have interaction with people on that level. Books that he was aware of that didn't have too much to do with things that we would think are relevant.
The fact that he was aware of a lot of what's happening. He's well-read. And
correct. So, yeah. And these were becoming very bold, and people were highlighting these as key elements of his life.
Which I think is fair enough, right?
Because so he says this really beautifully. He says that, I'd even like to read this. He says that, let me try and read it as quick as I can. So he says in these I'm translating it as I'm reading in the Farsi. He says it starts with in Gruzhat, that section. So in these days, some media outlets have been repeatedly talking about his arts and how he had a very good understanding of arts, and even training people to take up arts and skills and these kind of things. And he says, and this is really so beautifully presented, he said, this quality in a person on its own is enough to bring a lot of value to a person. So it's a very important factor.
It's important. I think it talks to different areas of the community and society, right?
Correct.
Everybody's not necessarily religiously involved.
Correct.
But they might, for example, appreciate the fact that a person is so well-rounded that he appreciates even arts as a leader of a whole nation.
So he says that this brings a lot of value to a person. And he said that it's very clear that our beloved Rahbar, as he calls him over here, had this in its highest level. But then he says that if you compare this part of his life, that's really beautiful. See, all of these people that have been exposed to this, he's saying that this is beautiful. This is something that gives a person a lot of value. Like you said, it gives somebody a lot of outreach and makes him relevant for a lot of different people. It's very impressive. But he says, I want you to look at another set of skills that he had, another set of arts that he had, that may make these arts and these skills that he had seem less. Not to bring them down, but it shows that how important these are. So as a reader and now as a listener, you're like, wait a second, wow, this guy was a person that mastered languages, mastered authors and books, mastered music, halal music obviously, and the theory of music that he'd worked on.
Yes.
I guess this can be clarified at a different point.
He has extensive work on ijtihadi work on music.
Correct. There's Kharij. His book has been published on music, and his fatwa are very, very advanced in the matter, and in the fact that he shows a very good understanding of the topic and the actual subject matter.
And what I find interesting in that is that not only does he bring the fiqhi aspect of music, but he also shows the social implications of music, the good types of music, the bad. So it's really like a very interesting
And that's
discussion.
a part of the fiqhi research itself. It's not separate from it. So the fiqhi research in the social implications of it.
Yeah.
So he says, all of these on one side, you've been exposed to these, let me show you something that's even greater than this.
Yes.
So a listener, reader's like, wait a second, wow, this was impressive. What's this going to be? And he points out certain things that really, really show the art, the artistic nature, and the skill this man had and what he was able to do. And the first one, I'll just mention this one. He mentions a few. There's at least 3, 4 that he mentions over here. But the first one is that he says one of the skills that this man had, one of the achievements he was able to get to in these kind of matters, is هنر تربیت و پرورش اجتماع. The ability to do tarbiyah, right? The same word that we're familiar with when it comes to, the most we can think of this discussion is when it comes to our own children.
Yes.
And slowly, maybe some of the works we're trying to tell people that no, you can even do it to your madrasa students and maybe to your
tarbiyah is a concept
community.
That's much greater. It's not just for children.
Correct.
It's nurturing and bringing up
exactly.
a person.
The root word of it comes back to the growth that we're providing for the subject, the person, the murabba. And he says over here that he was able to do this at such a widespread level that he was able to train and bring up a community. And when you think about it for a second, it takes a lot of time and effort to master certain arts and certain skills. But to be able to do this seems something that's pretty much impossible. And how did he do it? از طریق ساخت افکار و روحیات و عواطف توده‌های عظیم مردم. So working on the thoughts, the spirit and the emotions they had, and the feelings of the masses of people. Yeah. Right? Working, trying to train 1 person, 2 people, 3 people is difficult enough. But working with a population of, at the beginning of his, when he took up the revolution, being the leader of the revolution, maybe 50, 60, 70, today 90 million people, and that's just Iran. Across the world, to be training all of them is a skill that he had that is very, very unique to him.
It's a great achievement because people have different thoughts, they have different perspectives.
Exactly.
Even those who are against him in certain things, for example, politically, they might not have the same views as him. Yeah. But Allah will still respect him and love him for the other characteristics that he had. Yeah. And that's the beauty of that all-rounded personality, right? The fact that he was good in many different things meant that he actually could speak to and relate to all these different people.
So this is something that it requires its own study in its own time. A man who was able to bring up and do the upbringing of a whole community, of a whole nation, and wider than a nation.
But this itself has a lot of qualities within it, right? For example, the amount of patience he needed to have this, the amount of foresight, vision, right? That vision. Even when you talk about patience, again, it's not just patience and difficulty. Like I was thinking the other day that sometimes he makes a decision that his classic followers would question. But he's actually making that decision because of his vision and because of this perspective he has that I'm not just for you classic people, I'm for everybody. So there are certain decisions I have to make, certain things I say, why I say them and how I say them, that needs to bring everybody together. Correct. So he was a person who unified everybody. The people who you would say were extreme followers, if I put that word with a bit of care, but those who were extreme followers who didn't understand the vision fully, might question him for that. But now when you look at it, you see, wow, how amazing was the approach he took that managed to gather everybody, people who are not hijabi, people who are not religious, apparently, people of different political perspectives, all of them would still unite under his banner.
It's no doubt a model to be studied. How he managed to do this, how he managed to get across to all the different types of people, thinking, religions even. Different religions, to unite them all and to give that growth to them. The essential point behind this is to raise them up and bring that growth to them. Truly. And it's beautiful mention in this light that, all of those things you've seen from him, but look at this as well.
Yeah. All of those are actually a small part of that bigger picture.
They play a role in this. There's much more we can talk about in this section.
He's listed, as you said, many. I think you mentioned 3. I think there's more than 3 aspects of his personality that were mentioned. Again, we don't want to dedicate the whole episode to this. Very quickly, for example, his foresight and his vision, even in terms of analyzing current events. He's somebody who could predict things that would happen, or his correct understanding of current events. Like he would pinpoint that, look, this, for example, the protest that's happening is not, for example, organic and natural. This has actually been led from outside, for example. His ability to distinguish these things, to make stances where other people, even scholars, might not understand, here's the right time to make this stance or make or speak about it this way. So his foresight in political matters, obviously his knowledge, we talked about it.
So if the whole list starts with, like you mentioned, ilm, his foresight, his taqwa, his connection with Allah and the Ahlul Bayt, his fighting for the independence of Iran from the external powers has got obviously a lot of history to it. He spent his whole life in strengthening the Islamic government and the system. His importance to unity, his growth in knowledge, his very vast experience. And then he touches on the skills part, that look, a lot of skills have been mentioned, but I want you to pay attention to skills. And he mentioned 6 skills over here. One of them is raising and training the whole society, institutionalizing the affairs of running, strengthening elements of the society that are important, innovation in knowledge and policy setting, coining new terminology and phrases. This is something he was very powerful with. And these terminologies and phrases actually stuck. So he has different, for example, you look at Narmish Qahramanane, Iqtisad Muqawimati. We can go into discussions on these, but these have become daily used phrases in the society based on him coining them very powerfully with a lot of thought and very keywords selected. Gharb Asia has now become West Asia, right? People who have that sort of understanding don't say the Middle East because of its the political meaning it has behind it, being the Near East, the Middle East, and the Far East, all relating back to the West. It's West Asia. Look, we have West Asia, Southern Asia, Central Asia, and East Asia, right? Let's look at it objectively. We're not supposed to be...
Europe is not the central part
exactly,
of the world.
We
talked about
in
this in the
episode
on colonialism.
Yeah. So coining, and the last one he said is his the foresight that he had, that he built through patience and perseverance. And he summarizes, now we've done the whole section, might as well say this as well. He says all of these skills were given to him by Allah's grace.
Yes, and I love the fact that he uses this hadith, al-mu'minu yanduru bi nurillah. Right, it's really beautiful that so 2 things. One is that when he talks about this, he's not referring to him as a father, right? It's the leader, it's his qualities. And secondly, he again links it to Allah. So there's nothing personal in all of this, right? It's completely based on Allah, on Tawheed, and on the religion. And showing how he was such a spiritually connected person with so much knowledge that when he spoke, one could say that he represented the word of Islam, the word of the Prophet, and the view of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
And he points out over here, the one thing that gave him true growth in his life is how he respected his father. In the midst of his pursuit of knowledge, he went to Najaf for some time, Qum for some time, and he was called back because his father went blind. And he himself has stories, maybe we can even share the links or play it later, where he says that if I achieved anything, I think it's because of the service I did to my father. Such a great man.
In fact, we've published the video on Instagram if the brothers and sisters want to watch it. Let's move on to the next section. Before that, alhamdulillah, the group of sisters in Bab al-Ridha, the group that's working on Bab al-Ridha kids, have actually been working on stories of the life of Shaheed Ali Khamenei. And one of the stories is about the sacrifice he makes to join his father. So if you want to learn about stories of his life, we're making this series of stories. It might become quite a long series. We're still producing it, and I think 4 or 5 episodes have already come out. It's for kids, but I think we get to learn a lot from it as well. So I wouldn't just restrict it for the kids. But alhamdulillah, it's really great effort, and thanks to the sisters who are working hard on this. So let's move to the next section. So the next section is where he talks about the fact that Iran is a victorious nation, and in this war, the victory actually belongs to Iran. Now, again, in a previous episode, I think possibly the first one, we talked about victory and the meaning of victory, right? So we've dedicated a whole episode on that. If you want to get more details, go back to that episode. But just very briefly, how does Sayyid Mujtaba define victory?
Yeah, so it's really beautiful how he says that until where we've reached until now, he says with all sureness, I can say that you people of Iran are the winners, the definite winners. It's very beautiful how he attributes it to the people. He even refrains from saying we over here, which itself would be a good step. See, I can say I won, I can say Iran won, I can say we won, but attributing it directly to the people is really beautiful and shows the point that we mentioned in the previous. Correct. They're the ones that gave the sacrifices, they're the ones that fought, they're the ones, whether it be on the battlefield, whether it be in the streets, whether it be in
and it's
diplomatic
not like he hasn't
efforts.
sacrificed anything.
Can you imagine how much he's
speaking in a
sacrificed?
state of potentially being injured. He's just lost important family members.
Yeah.
And he's still
The most important family members, his children, his wife, his father, like the most direct family members you can imagine.
And he's putting all of that sacrifice aside and still saying,
Yeah.
you guys have done all the
Yeah.
sacrifice, you guys have done.
Again,
all
showing the
effort.
same thing, that the people are not just there for formalities or to keep them happy. It's not just, some places when we talk about the people, it's just for the sake of keeping them happy. Oh, we have to appease them. This is a real attention towards that.
And it's really important for the people to realize that this whole system was made by the people,
Correct.
for the people.
Correct.
It's not, right now in the media, there's an effort, right, to sort of separate that the US, for example, is attacking the regime, not the people.
Yeah.
It's like, no, the people and the regime is one and the same thing. It's not a
Correct.
regime. It's actually a completely mardumi system. What's mardumi in English?
Popular. So it's a people-based.
It's a people-based system. These elections, there is, the people have a say in it, and the biggest say that people have is when they come in the streets and they show their support.
You said it was made by the people, for the people, and held by the people.
Held by the people.
It's continuous, the mission continues. He then talks about how, so he doesn't define victory over here as such, but he moves on to a very important element of the victory, where he says that we're seeing a big shift. Now this is something Shaheed Khamenei mentioned a few times. To be very honest, many of us didn't, I don't want to say didn't believe it, but somehow, you're a bit
Skeptical
like,
about it.
you're skeptical about it. You're like, hopeful, wishful thinking. Okay, because he said it, I can't say it's not going to happen, but he's saying it very loud and clear, and saying it today, it's with a lot more clarity, and that's what he's pointing out over here. So he says that, look, the way he draws is very poetic and metaphorical with his usages, and we saw that in the previous section. So over here he says the sunrise of the strength of the Islamic government. You see over here, in fact, he doesn't mention Iran in this word. So I quote, you mentioned Iran in Iran Rising, obviously you meant the Islamic word, but you see he didn't even use the word Iran over here. That's how much attention he's giving to each and every word, right? So he says the sunrise, the rising of the strength of the Islamic nation. Obviously he refers to Iran over here, but the point that he's focusing on and mentioning particularly over here is that Iran is rising, see I said as well, the Islamic Republic is rising as a very strong power in the world. And the arrogant powers, again here he doesn't use the word power. You say qudrat istikbar. So he says istikbar, the arrogance, means the hegemons of the world, that want to take over the world, are already slipping down a slippery slope. They're on their way down. It's very important also, he doesn't say that they're gone, they have nothing left. No, but he can see the way that they're moving. And by the way, there's a nice chart, I actually have it over here, if I can share it, or you can search it as well, showing the public trust in the US government over the years. And we've hit an all-time rock bottom low just now. And see, he sees that trend. We may not see it. Trump is seeing it. You can see how he's reacting. He's not able to continue a war that he may want to, because he's constantly having to reply to the Congress, the Senate, the people, and the questions that are coming are baffling him as well now, and he gives confused answers because the people aren't happy with what's going on. The people are against the war. And that's in the US, forget the rest of the world. So he's seeing these key elements. But what he's trying to point out over here is that this was something that a few people had seen from the start. And he's saying, now you guys are catching up. You're joining the team now. You're joining the show. Basically, if now you don't see this, you don't see the rise of Islam, and you don't see the decline of the arrogant nations, means generally the governments in the West, mainly the US. If you're not seeing this, then you're totally off just now. And he mentions this very beautifully. He says that this was something that we could see earlier, but it was limited to a few people. But now, this is now, because of the sacrifices, because of the ikhlas of the fighters and the army, what they had, this is something that everyone is seeing. And over here he mentions the principle that, but we need to thank Allah for this blessing. Because if you want something to increase, لَإِن شَكَرْتُمْ لَأَزِيدَنَّكُمْ.
It's really beautiful that now what the Supreme Leader used to say in the past, now you can see it echoed in the government, at the government level as well, right? So recently there was a press conference with the al-Baqai of the
spokesperson of the Foreign Ministry,
and when he was asked by one of the journalists that, you know, you're fighting a superpower, why don't you take a step back? And all he says is, Iran is also a superpower.
We're a superpower too.
And full stop, next question, right?
آمریکا یک ابرقدرت است. شما چه ابزاری و پشتوانه دارید برای مقابله با آن دارید؟ چرا عقب نشینی نمی کنید یا کوتاه نمی آیید؟
ما هم ابرقدرتیم.
This is before, this used to be a perspective that the leader was pushing, and like you said, everybody was a bit skeptical about it. Like, is this just, you know, a big talk? Is it like to try and, you know, put fear in the enemy? Now it's actually come down even at lower levels of the government, where they're starting to truly believe that, you know, we're getting stronger, we are stronger. And alhamdulillah, this strength was there but was never proven to the people, right? Now the opportunity came, and alhamdulillah, the people proved that not only militarily they're strong, the people are strong, they're in the streets. It's how many days now? 60 days?
65, right? 66.
Yeah, so it's been 65 days and the streets are, every night people are still coming out. Like, I'm getting tired. I'm like, I can't keep up with this.
These people are.
But the people are on the streets, and it's beautiful, even the recent track that came out. Khiyaban ba ma, maidan ba shoma, khiyaban ba ma. You, the military, you sort out the battlefield. The streets will take care of the streets.
We got them.
So it's really beautiful, the spirit that the people have, that spirit of victory, of strength. And truly this is being a superpower, right? The superpowers that are the global superpowers today are superpowers based on on military strength, based on the technology that they have. But the people are not with them. The people are not satisfied. The people are truly struggling economically, morally struggling, right? Alhamdulillah, the Islamic Republic is a superpower in the sense that in different areas of life, it's rising, it's becoming stronger and stronger. It's true economically we're struggling, right? There are issues economically, but again, look in the streets, there's no lack in food supplies, and you don't feel like you're at war, right? So it's true there are economic issues like any other country, but it's not defeated economically, right? It's resisted sanctions, it's bypassed sanctions in different ways. So alhamdulillah, it truly has become what I would say a true superpower, right, in all aspects.
And is redefining the meaning of superpower.
Yes.
Superpowers had a very bad meaning until now, because superpowers were hegemons that wanted to take over and oppress and to their agenda and, you know, make sure everybody listens to them. They benefit from everything.
It was a global tyranny, basically.
Correct.
Right? If you're able to impose yourself,
it's the law of the jungle. It's the law of the jungle at a widespread level, and at the most essential place. But that's being redefined, and I love how he redefines it right here. There's two things that he points out in this very paragraph that redefines it very beautifully. One, he says we owe this to the pure blood that's been spilt. And over here he puts the blood of Shaheed Khamenei, and alongside it he mentions all the other martyrs and our civilians. And over here he says how do you say, gulhay par shute, the scattered flower petals.
Referring to the Shahadah of...
Correct. Gulhay par shute madrasa shajarat tayyibah minab. So he points out that the blood that was spilled in Minab of the young children, the school-going children, is one of the causes for this clarity that's come about today. It's really beautiful. And because of the tawassul and the tadarru, means the humility that they have in front of Allah, begging Allah, the masumin and Allah, that all of the people have in Allah's presence, and their presence on the streets. Huzur Mujahidanation. You see how he attributes the victory to all of these key elements that the people are a part of all of.
And truly people need to know this, that I don't know if it still continues, but whilst the actual military war was happening for 39 days, nearly every night, if not every other night, people would go in the streets and recite namaz istighatha together, right? at a certain time it was announced.
Salat al-Istighatha to the 12th Imam. It's not too popular
so
in different communities, but it's a beautiful salat in Mafatihul Jinan.
Ahsantum. So this salah was recommended to be recited, and throughout the country at a specific time, people would gather in parks, in the streets. People they would just put the mats on the streets and do the dua together. It's mustahab salah, but they do it together, encouraging people to come and do it. And this aspect of tawassul and tadarru', this doing tawassul through the imam, and this sense of humility and asking Allah for help, again shows that, like you said, Iran as a country is not the focus. Iran is like a vessel, right? Where Islam has taken place in it, and now in all levels the people are expressing that connection with Allah. The government, the whole system is a Tawheedi system that is fighting the istikbar, the arrogant powers, and I think this is the beautiful part of it.
It's really beautiful. And the last point that I wanted to mention about the verse is at a time where blessings are coming in, the main test that a person has is ignorance and negligence towards Allah's hand. That Allah is giving me this. So if you look at Surah Naml, verse number 40, that talks about Prophet Sulaiman, when he wanted Bilqis' throne to be brought over. And he asks who can do it, and it's got a story behind it. And one person says that, I can do it before you even blink your eyes. And it's over there. And now over here, he's achieved his goal, right? He wanted the throne here. Bilqis is going to come. The throne is going to convince her. She's going to convert. The people, everything's done. So this is the point where you're done now. But then he mentions a very beautiful principle that the leader is pointing out over here. فَلَمَّا رَآهُ مُسْتَقِرًّا عِنْدَهُ قَالَ هَذَا مِنْ فَضْلِ رَبِّي. Now we write this on some properties sometimes. People write in their houses, or especially very fancy mansions and stuff, but we don't pay attention to the rest. He says this is from the blessings of Allah. So what? Okay, this is the blessings of Allah. لِيَبْلُوَنِي, to test me. So Imam, now is the time to be like celebrating. What do you mean test? A test of Allah is when you don't get things. No, the Quran is trying to teach us that even when you are succeeding, there's a test from Allah. What's the test about? لِيَبْلُوَنِي أَأَشْكُرْ أَمْ أَكْفُرْ. Am I going to be thankful of this blessing, or am I going to... Kufr over here means that I don't thank, I'm thankless. Means I cover up this blessing and I say that, no, this is not from Allah. No, it's not from Allah. وَمَنْ شَكَرَ فَإِنَّمَا يَشْكُرُ لِنَفْسِهِ. And whoever is thankful will be thankful to himself. He's benefiting himself. وَمَنْ كَفَرْ فَإِنَّ رَبِّي غَنِيٌّ كَرِيمٌ. Whoever is going to reject this from Allah, Allah is needless. Allah doesn't need that person. So over here you see at a time where it was a very challenging time, losing Shaheed Khamenei, losing such amazing people, the commanders, very strong strikes in different places over Iran. But at this time, like you said at the beginning of the ceasefire, right? This is a time where now things are starting to look brighter. He's saying we can see this is a time for us to automatically fall into negligence.
Yes. And also the fact that militarily the victory was also on the side of Iran, right?
Correct.
There was a lot of waves. We are on 100 waves, right?
Yeah.
And so the people are starting to see, okay, Iran is actually strong.
Yeah.
They are actually able to resist.
Yeah.
So again, naturally, you can start forgetting Allah and saying we have high superpower, high firepower. We have all these missiles, and you forget Allah in all of this. So it's a good reminder. It's a timely reminder that look, you're winning the war, even militarily. You're winning it, but don't forget it's all from the ni'mat of Allah.
And that's what he mentions. It's really beautiful. And he says, and then he mentions that how to make this thanks practical. Shukra amaliya in ni'mat. Showing a depth in his ma'arif. Obviously, we're saying it like he's a normal person. He's a very high-level mujtahid. It's not a joke. But he says that the practical element of this blessing, see, to say thank you Allah is one thing, but what's the practical? So he says to keep pushing and keep driving forward, not to become complacent. Complacency is the assassin of progress.
And this is where he moves on to talking about the role and importance of the people on ground. We talk a lot about people being in the streets, waving flags, usually they're there at night, 9:30 onwards. What's the significance of this? How does that affect anything in this whole war?
So he mentions this in a few places over here, and he talks about the presence on the streets. He says a key factor in the strength that Iran is able to gain is your presence in the streets. And he says over here very clearly, because this is the time where the ceasefire is just being brokered and it's being discussed, so it's been set in, but it's not on. And then he says this very beautifully. The words here are very, very well selected, and you can see a lot of depth in the basira. Again, it's tough pointing these things out. I guess we're still getting to know him better. But obviously, he would have it. I mean, it's not surprising, but it's very beautiful to see nonetheless. So he says that now that there is going to be talks with the enemy. See, he says talks, but it's with the enemy. It means it's not negotiations to compromise, it's talks with the enemy. He said we shouldn't get the idea that you're not needed on the streets anymore. So he says, and this is the key, I really like this sentence, I think it's a key sentence over here. He says, بلکه اگر بر فرض ضرورتاً نوبت دوره سکوت صحنه نبرد نظام سیاسی رسیده باشد. He says, even if we take it for granted, even if that because of the situation, now is the time for us not to carry on engaging in fighting. We're 26, 27 days on from this. He's seeing this on the first day. We're seeing this now. It makes a lot of sense. He's saying on the first day, the 40th. So it's exactly the first day the ceasefire is being set. I think by this day the ceasefire wasn't even fully in place. I think Lebanon was still being struck. I think these are the days. So he's seeing this on that time. He's saying if it's a time that we're not going to be striking, وظیفه احد مردم که امکان حضور در میادان, anyone who can be present in the squares, in the areas that people gather, in mosques, is more important and more central than previous. And you're sitting and thinking, wait, what does that mean? But if you look at it at a very bird's eye view scale, right? If you're in the crowd, maybe you don't realize what's happening and what the movement is. If you look at it bird's eye view, what's happening is Iran is being attacked. Whether that's militarily, whether that's to cause some sort of movement inside that we saw 2 months before the war was, the only people that can really, really remove this threat is the people. Because what is being sold to the rest of the world, and that's what's giving them the leverage to attack Iran, is that the people aren't with the revolution. This miracle that the people, I was just thinking today, that it's been quite some time, we haven't actually gone for, in Iran, every few months they have these days, right? They celebrate Bisu Bahman, Sizday Aban. I was thinking, we haven't gone for, and I was like, wait a sec, but every single night it's happening. Those, every single night. And those itself are portrayed on Western media, the big days. But these aren't being portrayed, but they're continuing. In fact, it was interesting, just Saturday of this week, so 4 or 5 days ago, I went to the place near my house, which is one of the big ones as well, and it was about 9:20 when I went, and I saw that the crowd was significantly less than the other days. And I thought to myself, wait a second, this isn't good. And I was the last person. There was actually cars going around there, which isn't normal. And then 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, 30 minutes later, I realized that no, they just shifted the time. Yes. And by 10 o'clock, the rush was even more than I'd seen in other days. Yeah. So the crowds are still there. I mean, it was more believable for me to expect that, okay, it's going to reduce. I was more shocked when I saw they did come than I was when I would have realized that, look, I had the same
shock after a few, 1 or 2 weeks after the ceasefire. I went there and again, same thing. We went there at the usual time and there was nobody, and I started getting really worried. I went home, I was like, what's going on? They stopped coming in the streets. 1 hour later, the streets are full
so they've realized that the preferred time, I think Maghrib is getting later as well, it's like 7:20 just now, so 9 o'clock, I guess, dinner and stuff. So they're coming out later.
They're coming later, but then they're still coming out.
They're still there. So what he's trying to show very clearly over here is that their presence is actually the thing that is able to deflect the enemy's threats just now. Whether that be militarily, whether that be to create some sort of political instability internally, whether it be to create rumors. There was a very beautiful placard the night I went that they actually read from the stage. They said, "There's such a nice placard, I'm going to read it out." The placard read that we are not happy with the dollar rising. We are not happy with things becoming expensive. But that doesn't mean we're going to leave our revolution and our country. And the last line is very nice. He says that we've given our Rahbar for this cause. Very nice, like the way people are thinking, the level of ma'rifah a person has. That, look, I'm suffering. Yeah, my work is suffering. Although, like you said, suffering should be put into context. It's not like they have nothing to eat or anything like that. It's not like that. But, of course, there is a level of economic difficulty. In fact, he touches upon it further down. But they're still strong.
When
and that shows the value.
Supporting the revolution, we're not talking about claiming that this is, a perfect, country where, there's no issues. No, there are issues like any other country. There are issues, but that's different to, the system that is trying to actually solve these issues.
Yeah.
So the presence of the people is extremely important, and he mentions this. One beautiful thing that one of the analysts was mentioning recently is that it's true that the war militarily has taken a pause. But that doesn't mean we're not in war, right? Again, it's not a negotiation, it's ceasefire, they're exchanging messages, they're talking.
Yeah.
The war is happening in different shapes. So the Strait of Hormuz right now is closed. There's a naval blockade on Iran as well.
Correct.
So that's part of the war. So there's a lot of things going on. And the beautiful thing that he said, and this shows again the perspective of Islam when it comes to war, is that if we can reach our objectives without having to fight militarily, then we're going to put that effort over there. If the negotiation table is where we can reach our objectives, we'll do that. Our aim is to protect the rights of the people, right? Our aim is not just to fight blindly.
وَإِنْ جَنَحُوا لِلسَّلْمِ فَاجْنَحْ لَهَا وَتَوَكَّلْ عَلَى اللَّهِ. Right? We have no commitment to war for the sake of war.
Exactly, yeah. And this is, I think, this is again a beautiful aspect of Islam. The people, genuinely the people of here, just yesterday in one of the squares where they were having these protests, the guy was saying on the mic, we're ready to fight, we're ready to spill our, to have our blood spilled for this. Why are we not fighting? But the point was that because we don't need to fight if we can reach our objectives, right? Exactly. Some people are hot-blooded, they want to fight, right? Because it has that immediate satisfaction in there. But the Islamic vision is that, look, we want, human life is sacred, right? We want to protect human life. If we can avoid fighting whilst reaching our objectives, then we'll avoid fighting. Obviously, if fighting is the necessary prerequisite for achieving
we won't shy away from it.
Then we won't shy away from it. And that's the strength that Islam has and the wisdom it has. When you put these together, you get this beautiful system.
Sometimes it's harder to not go towards Shahadah and be patient. Like our fourth Imam, right? For example, in front of Ibn Ziyad, when he's speaking to him, and Ibn Ziyad threatens him and he says, I'm going to kill you. He says, إِنَّ الْقَتْلَ لَنَا عَادَةً. All right, being killed is something that we're used to. وَكَرَامَتُنَا الشَّهَادَةِ. Right? Our honor is Shahadah. It's easier for me that if you kill me just now, it's easier for me. It's harder to see what I'm seeing over here.
Should we move on to the next section?
Just move on.
Yeah, so the next section is actually quite important, a bit of a sensitive topic, but it's a really important topic. And this is, again, beautiful how...
Sorry, Sheikh, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut you off. There's one section I said that, sorry.
Go for it.
He said that it's become clear for more people to see this. I just want to point out one reference that he made over here that's really beautiful. So he says that, I wish we could read all of this out in Farsi, it's so beautiful. So he says, in khususiyatis ke ta andaki pish az in dar ede kami ke rahbar shahid dar ra's an qarar dashan dide mishod. He's saying this emerging of this Islamic power is something that only a few people could see. If you want to give this a sort of an example to make it more sense, it's like, for example, seeing the sunrise. I don't know if you realize, I've been trying to make it seem like he's saying, I feel like he's saying that. And if you're standing on the ground, you see it at a certain point. But if you yourself are on a mountain, you see the sunrise earlier, because your altitude is actually going to help you see further down the horizon. And so he's trying to say that these people at the helm of them being Shaheed Khamenei, other people were seeing it and they were telling us. And because we trusted them, we trust the power of Islam, we said, okay, it's coming. Okay, it's coming. And then he said that, but now anybody har naziri rushd sari va mu'jizevari in millatr dark mikonad. It's become a way that now it's no longer only for the select group of people to see this. Now the normal people, if you open your eyes, and this connects to the next message, very nice. And then he says, "Bijihatnis." I really like how he does this. There's a video, again, maybe Al-Ridha can work on producing this or something. Ayatollah Jawadi Amuli, who in the Shia world is one of the strongest, you'd say, the most well-known, renowned scholars of tafsir, fiqh, philosophy, all the different fields.
He's really a marja taqlid as well, while also being a mufassir and a philosopher. And
correct. Somebody who's very advanced. When he speaks about, because he's issued 2 messages or so, and in one of them, when he wants to speak, his emotions don't let him pronounce his words. What's the word in English? Bughz.
Bughz would mean...
Basically, you're in a situation where you can't speak. You get stuck, and you have like your throat is like caught, if you want. And he speaks about this over here, and he mentions him, and he says "Bijihat nis," and it's not without reason. Kedarin Ruza Hakim and Namdar, that a well-renowned philosopher and alim wa faqih ali qadr. You know the words. آنگاه که با شما از این شأن صحبت می‌فرماید, when he speaks about this growth and this emergence to you, O people, بارها بغض گلو سد راه کلامش می‌شود. Multiple times he's not able to speak because of this state that's come about for him, this emotional state where he's trying to talk, but you'd say his tears, for example, don't give him the ability to do that. So that's very beautiful. Mentioning this scholar in this light was really
Very
beautiful over here.
Inshallah, we can post the video as well, inshallah.
ما اگر در برابر شما خضوع میکنیم، اگر در برابر شما اظهار کوچکی میکنیم، برای این است که شما خیلی بزرگید. من هر وقت این صحنه شبها رو میبینم واقعا احساس کوچکی میکنم.
Ahsantum. So we move on to the next section. It's an important section because again the leader in this position where he's talking about what's happened, he's not ignoring some really important, perhaps we can call it doubts that people have, or important events. One of them being that Iran apparently attacked some of its neighboring countries.
Yeah.
Now, for those who have understood the narrative in the proper sense, we know that it was an attack on those countries. But the media is very, very strongly trying to portray Iran as a very bad neighbor that is attacking its neighbors like a small child, that's just going on a tantrum and just throwing bombs everywhere, trying to make an impact. As if Iran had lost control of itself, and now before dying it's just making a big tantrum, which actually is what's happening on the other
opposite.
side. Yeah, it's
exactly the opposite.
So the media is trying to portray this image of Iran, and over here I think he's sort of answering that doubt and actually giving more clarity on the relationship between the Islamic Republic and its neighboring countries.
And addressing them.
Yes.
So not even trying to just explain to the people what's happening, but actually addressing them, enlightening them. Now this is something that we may see as forward. It's like, wait a sec, like you're going to advise these people? It's something that Shaheed Khamenei would time and again do. But the difference between this advice and the advice that you see from other powers is that this really comes from a good place. This is really from a place of well-wishing. This is a place of concern and I would say even compassion. And this is what Ahlul Bayt taught us.
But do you think the politicians who are reading this are seeing it the same way? Or is this because of your understanding of the personality of
Correct, definitely. Although his tone, you can clearly see that. You can clearly see that the tone has it clear. But of course, the people at the helm of things are not going to see it in this light. But I feel what this can do is that it can create some movement within at least the higher levels of decision making or the people. And there's a nice video I just showed you from Al Jazeera where this rhetoric is being shared by an American retired veteran general and a researcher in Qatar, where both are saying the same point that he's saying. It wouldn't be strange for me that what he's saying has affected the masses. And these are not, a university teacher in Qatar and a veteran general in the U.S. Army, an advisor to, it was a very high position. Kimit is his name. We can share it as well. And they're sharing these words as well, the same thing that he's saying.
And the fact that you mentioned just earlier that people are seeing more clearly, right, what before only a few could see, I guess this is part of it. It's not just the Iranian people that are seeing things clearly. It's even the people around the world are getting a better understanding of the political dynamics of the different countries.
The beautiful thing, what he's done over here, is that he's gone right to the clear facts. And that's really nice. So sometimes when things are, like you said, the media is portraying it in a certain way and stuff, things are like the dust hasn't settled yet, it's tough to say a lot. But he's gone right to the clear facts that anybody can see. And that's the same conversation that you have on Al Jazeera is based on the same thing. And that's what he tells them, that look, so when he speaks to the neighbors, he says that in this place I see it, you in front of you are seeing a miracle unfold in front of you. Our neighbors, he addresses them as neighbors. Neighbors in any language is a word that shows compassion. Right? You don't call people that you're at war with your neighbor, even if you are in neighboring countries. I don't think Russia and Ukraine would call each other neighbors just now, right? Even though they may be sharing a border, they don't call each other neighbors. But he does, clearly putting it across to them that we're not at war with you. you're our southern neighbors. And he says that in front of you, just open your eyes, clear your eyes a bit, open it, and you see a miracle happening in front of you. And he says, so look correctly and understand things the way they are. You see this a lot from the Ahlul Bayt, especially Imam Ali in his letters. When he tried and awaken people, what he would stress upon is that, look, forget what people are telling you, forget what you've heard from that media outlet, and he speaks about media outlets later.
Put the analysis aside.
And try and just look at the facts for a second yourself. When the Holy Quran was being shared with the people, they were told that put your hands in your ears and don't hear it. The response was that, oh, listen to what the Quran has to say. No problem. And then listen to analysis, but try and see the facts as they are. And so he encourages them to do that. And he says that also pay attention that shaitan's promises are something that you should be skeptical about. And this is, the whole Quran is time and again Allah reminds us that shaitan's promises are fake. Right? Shaitan, in fact, Surah Ibrahim talks about on the day of Qiyamah, where shaitan himself says, وَقَالَ الشَّيْطَانُ لَمَّا قُضِيَ الْأَمْرُ إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَعَدَكُمْ وَعْدَ الْحَقِّ. Allah promised you the true promise, وَوَعَدْتُكُمْ فَأَخْلَفْتُكُمْ. And I promised you, but I was lying the whole time. I was just playing you guys. And this is what he's trying to show, that look, shaitan is promising you certain things. Right? Now, who is this shaitan? He's put shayateen in the plural sense.
Yes.
Anyone that's towing the line of shaitan would count as shaitan. The Quran says shayateen al-ins, jinni wal-ins. There are humans that are in the same team, awliya shaitan.
I think the reference to Quranic verse is very clear.
Very
speaking to leaders who are Muslims and
correct,
Arabs,
yeah.
so they're getting
That's
the
really
references.
beautiful.
They are getting the references.
They get
for
the
sure.
message clear, yeah. And the people that are towing shaitan's line today is the line of shirk, is the line of turning away from Allah, is the line to stop relying on Allah, stop relying on the strength that Allah has given you as a nation. So he says, be skeptical towards their promises. And then he says really nicely, he says that we're still waiting for them to show that true love and compassion. I'm paraphrasing, he didn't say love over here. But he says
reaction.
Correct.
We're still waiting for you
Correct.
guys to have the right reaction to what's going on.
The right way of dealing with things. So we can truly show you the higher level of brotherhood. There's one level of brotherhood where we'll advise you to look at things correctly. But that is still waiting. And it's really beautiful, again, showing that we don't have anything against you. In fact, we're on the same team. Like you said, we're Muslims.
We're one
this
ummah,
is something
we're
that's
trying to work together.
This shocked the Muslim world, that how in the world are these guys siding with shayateen and leaving the Muslims on the other side? And a lot of non-Shia scholars as well have pointed this out, that we should definitely be siding with the Muslims over here. And so he's appealing to that over here very beautifully. He says the only way you're able to show the right reaction, and this is the clear fact that I was saying, and is the talking point in a lot of circles today, is to turn away from the arrogant powers. And this is so beautiful. It says, "Ke hiç fursati ra bere tahqir shoma va istismaratan ras das nemidand." That don't leave a single opportunity to humiliate you, to debase you, and also to capitalize as much as they can from you.
During the war, whilst they are being bombed on behalf of the US, and all of this is happening, and they are even defending the war and going against Iran, on the other side, Trump starts insulting them
in a way that can't even be repeated.
In a way that created memes and cartoons and stuff, inappropriate. That's how badly Trump humiliated these leaders, and they still stayed on his side.
And you know, I find more humiliating than all of this, not a single response, not a single advice saying that, look, Trump, like, we denounce that word that you used, or for example, in their circles, their own circles, don't even do it in English, do it in Arabic and say that, it's a slip of tongue, the other presidents don't talk. Nothing, no statement, as if totally accepting, because they can't speak against anything about this.
Yes,
so that was really bad.
Completely dependent, completely submissive to those powers.
And pointing that out over here should raise some sort of, if not Islamic ideology, some sort of Arab honor, pride, something should come out. I mean, Arabs are known for their honor and their pride. Being insulted like this, I mean, is really bad.
Okay. Hassan, so is Iran actually attacking its neighboring countries?
Of course not. Of course not. They, even with the event that happened in the last few days, Iran clearly said that any strike that we make we've calculated for it, and we'll announce it. And we'll announce where we're hitting. In fact, they were so careful at times in hitting certain areas that they would even announce that, look, this is correct, it's a local company, but the American shareholders in this, that are the dominant shareholders are American. So they'd be paying attention to that level of detail.
Influencers on social media today are trying to portray that, look, Iran has been attacking, for example, hotels. What have hotels got to do with anything? Or, for example, other civilian places. What's the...
Yeah, so Iran mentioned that the hotels, there's a few hotels attacked in Gulf countries, and this was because the military personnel cleared the bases and they moved towards the hotel. Now see, this intelligence, right? I mean, you can always play the game of, oh no it isn't, oh yes it is, but with the way Iran has been operating, if Iran wanted to strike UAE, there's a lot of, or Qatar or Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Bahrain, there's a lot of other targets they could have hit. They're not going for any of those targets. Even if you saw when universities were hit in Iran, which was an unacceptable violation of any law.
Yes.
Universities, right? They hit Sharif University, one of the topmost universities, and they took down the library and the history that it has. Iran sent a message back, 24 hours, denounce what you did. I mean, which country that's desperate does anything like that? Look, just go and hit their universities. They said you have 24 hours. And if you don't, then we see ourselves to have the right to attack. And until the end, they didn't attack the universities.
What I find really, really hurtful is that our Muslim brothers don't see this.
Yeah.
But the non-Muslims in the West actually see this. And you've got a lot of these posts on social media that says, for example, Iran said they'll hit the equivalent. So if you hit, for example, our military base, will hit your military base. You hit our power plants, we hit your power plants. But Iran never hit back for a school, it never hit back for a hospital, it never hit back for a university. And this is something that non-Muslims see, but our Muslim brother don't see. And I feel that's really hurtful, that you are so blinded to the truth. And again, this thing about open your eyes, see the fact for what they are. You're so blinded, you're so dependent, and you're so adamant on not seeing it clearly that you're going to make all sorts of excuses. And this is really hurtful.
It is.
Like, we should expect something more from our own brothers.
Correct. And the way Iran carries out its announcements is really beautiful. Very clear, to the point, what we hit, what...
I think the whole world has seen this. I think there's no point us even talking about it here, because it's gone out there. People have seen like the
videos.
The
Ibrahim
spokesman, the spokesman has become more famous than many other people. So Alhamdulillah, so in that sense, the narrative, the correct narrative has to a certain extent spread out. And again, this is such a good opportunity for us to show the people the real narrative, the correct perspective of Islam in all of these matters. Let's move on to the next section, which is an advice by the leader to his people.
Yeah, this is really beautiful. So he gives them 2 + 1, I'd say, 2 key advice. Again, going back to last week, so I don't want to repeat, but showing his depth in Islamic understanding, right? A mujtahid that really has like beautiful understanding and so much to educate the people on. This is the same tarbiyah that Shaheed Khamenei was doing to the people, that he's now doing through this methodology right now. He says that, look, right now war is hot, right now there's a lot to talk about, but I have something to share with you people. Right now, in the state of war, naturally there's going to be certain challenges we face, right? Certain things maybe, for example, right now one of the key ones that you may have seen even over here is that when they hit the one of the most important metal production factories, a steel factory in Mubarakeh of Isfahan, right? That is the biggest metal factory in the whole of Iran, in fact in the region as well. And they struck that and wiped out. Obviously, no reasoning can justify that, no justification, nothing. Anyway, that's a side point. Of course, metal prices in Iran should be affected. And it's had an effect. I actually went to buy something the other day, and they said this had a small effect. But what he's saying is, look, these are natural. These are expected. If you hit the biggest factory and it doesn't affect, that's a question. Like, where was all the metal coming from, right? Although they said we have reserves and stores, and so it's sort of gradual, the effect on the people. And we hope to be able to recover as well, and there's already construction going on. So he says in this situation where there are challenges and there are pressures that are natural at a time of war, right? Very nice way of explaining to the people. People need to be accommodating with each other. Be accommodating. For example, and this is something we've seen from the start of the war over here, right? For example, sorry, this isn't rehearsed at all or anything, although none of this is, but school fees. Have your school called you since the start of the war to pay for the school fees?
No, they haven't called. No.
The driver that drops the children, the bus driver, nothing. Even though before the war, you remember it, when it's due, they'll call.
When it's due, they'll call, yeah.
But now it's been 2 months, no calls. This is based on this advice that's been given, and he's pushing for this. Or there's different places you see this through the society.
Some of these pictures went viral of shops saying that you can pay later after the war.
Yeah. So this is based on this, and he's encouraging the spirit even more. This is beautifully taking advantage. See, sometimes you're so stuck in the war, you can't think of how to actually grow from this. See, this sacrifice that the people engage in will actually be to their benefit and the nation's benefit in the future. So making something, training people in a difficult situation. And then he says that, okay, I've said that, but keep in mind that the enemy side are actually suffering a lot as well. In kuntum ta'lamun, the Quran says, in kuntum ta'lamun, فَإِنَّهُمْ يَأْلَمُونَ كَمَا تَأْلَمُونَ. If you see yourself, you're in pain, know that they're in pain. وَتَرْجُونَ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا يَرْجُونَ. And you have hope in Allah, and they don't have hope in Allah.
And the biggest pain for them is that their leader is actually dismissing the pain.
Exactly.
The leadership, the way Trump
Exactly.
is dealing with this area of inflation, all that, he's completely dismissing it. Whereas we have a leader who's in a fatherly way telling you, look, I know it's difficult. Be patient, be strong.
Yeah. You're so right. I mean, I didn't pay attention to that perspective. You're right. That he's literally making it seem insignificant. The losses, and the people are like, wait a sec, do you even know what's going on?
So in the recent interview I was watching, he was saying, I was expecting the petrol to go up to 300.
Interesting.
It's only 102 right now from what I saw.
Interestingly, he's changed this. The first time he said they told us 200. And then he said 250, and now he said 300. So, as the price is going up, he's readjusting what he was supposedly told earlier. So that's the first advice.
So this advice is really amazing.
Very beautiful.
I went to visit one of the sites that was hit in Qom. And when I went there, one of the brothers said, I was asking, is there any help we can give to the locals and so on. So there was a person who told me, go find out if anybody needs accommodation, then we have place in our house. We have a floor. So when I went there and I asked them, they said, no, the government's already sorted their accommodation. Everybody's sorted. Either they've gone to families and stuff. So I was like, okay. So I had to tell that person, sorry, you can't help. Another person on ground told me there's a guy who came and he donated so much money that we told him, Baba, let other people help. Let other people help because you're just paying for everything right now. So it was really touching, and the people working there 24/7, doing shifts, fixing the place, replacing the glass. There are people in the area where the glasses were broken because of the impact. Within a few days, the government people came and they said, we'll replace the glass for you, not taking any fees for it. Very efficient work.
You saw this yourself?
This is from personal experience.
I've heard about it. I didn't know that was actually happening.
Experiences. So it was amazing. People were bringing food. There were messages going out like, we need food over here for the people working on ground. By the time you bring the food, you see there's already food there. The messages were not going fast enough. The help was coming much faster than the announcement for the need for help.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it was really beautiful, and this completely echoing the words of the leader.
And he says this at the end as well. بلطف تلاشای برادر و خواهران شما در دولت, that by the help of the brothers and sisters in the government and the different bodies, تا حداقل توجهی مدیریت شده است. So they've tried to manage it as best as possible, even within the existing bodies. The second one is really beautiful.
One more anecdote. There was one of the brothers was saying that he went, and somebody I know very closely, he went to the shop, and the guy, he was buying all of this stuff to prepare food for the people who are working at one of the sites that were hit. And the shopkeeper found out that he's doing it for that. So when he priced him, he said, I've only priced you at cost level. I'm not taking any profit from this. So he gave him a massive discount. And the brother was feeling like, I'm trying to do this for them. Why are you getting involved? Let me pay for this, right?
The thawab is all mine.
It's so beautiful how people are, trying, fighting to help so that they get their reward and they can be part of this movement.
Sabiqu. It's the tasabuq, right? Musabaqa. The second one is really beautiful. It's based on a very beautiful Islamic teaching where he says that be careful of what you're listening to. Ke panjare maghzu qalbas. Your ears are the window that open up to the heart and the mind. This is so relevant across the world. In fact, I think this may be more relevant outside of Iran than in Iran. And he says that you're listening, some people may be listening to media that is being supported by the enemy. It's like if you're going to listen to them, the window, if you open it up, and the example is very, again, metaphorical and poetic, right? The hadith actually have it in the same words. That it's the channel that opens up to your body, your eyes and your ears. Here it's talking about listening. It says, like, for example, imagine on a day where they say the air is polluted, or there's a problem with the air for whatever, it's an acidic rain or whatever. If you open your window, you're allowing for that to enter your house. And you'd never do that because you care about your house, you care about the people in your house. You don't want to do that. He says the same way, if you're going to listen, and especially repeatedly, to a narrative, battle of narratives, right? Being presented by a person that is the enemy or aligned with the enemy.
And you know that what they're going to say is not for your good.
It's not for your good.
Know
they're the enemy. They're the enemy, essentially.
The narrative, yeah.
Then what you're doing is you're opening up your perspectives to be formed by that.
I think it's really important for people to understand this, that there is a time to be open-minded and to listen to everything there for the purpose of academic research, analysis and so on. And there's a time to pick your sources and say, I'm going to learn and be affected by. So obviously when you hear something, you're affected by it.
من أصغى إلى ناطق فقد عبده. The Imam says, if you listen to it, it's like you're worshipping him.
Yeah. So the impact is strong. So there's a certain time when you have to say, look, I'm going to benefit and take my narrative from this source. And that's really, really important. Just a quick anecdote to show you how media propaganda really affects people. Even people in Iran who are seeing these things, they are affected. And it really shows you the impact of the media. So I was in a taxi the other day, I was going somewhere, and the guy was saying, about, was actually, and by the way, for people who think there's no freedom of expression stuff, nonsense, right? So the taxi driver is actually criticizing Sayyid Mujtaba and saying that, Sayyid Mujtaba has all this money, outside investments and this and that. So I was telling him that, look, from what the little I know of these personalities, they're not people who do these kind of things. So I know as a baseline that this is not true. So I spoke to him, I tried to reason with him. I said, where are you getting this from? You're definitely listening to something like Iran International. He said, yeah, I got this from Iran International. I'm like, come on, man. You've just wasted all of this time. Iran International is clearly a paid Iranian Farsi channel to change the narrative and give you false information.
They are known there for our good. They don't care about us.
They're known to lie. They're known to twist information, to hide information. So I told him that, and then when I told him this, that look, you've just got this information from Iran International, knowing this is made for propaganda. The Quran tells you, "In ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu." If a person who is a wrongdoer, a corrupt person, gives you information, at least go and find out about it, right? So he paused for a bit and he says, "Yes, you're right." And then. He felt, I really felt when you were talking, he felt so relieved. He felt relieved in the sense that he realized that, wow, I've been lied to, right? And then the tone of conversation completely changed, and he was, much happy. And the rest of the driver was really nice, because it started with a really moody, grumpy driver to a driver that's, very happy and so on. So it sort of like solved a really something that was bothering him in his mind.
Listening to different opinions, like you said, in its own way, in its own time is okay. But over here, these people are out there, they're paid in international manotot, they're actually funded by the enemy to pass propaganda in a country. And that's why he says, Musallaman an rasanaha, he's working with things that people can understand. And we all agree on. An rasanaha khair khai kishwar millat Iran nistan. They're not looking out for your good. They're not there for our benefit. And he says, in ma'na barha sabit shudeh. Time and again this has been established. And I really like this. This is very beautiful. I guess I've said that like 100 times now, but it's really nice.
Because it is. So.
It's really beautiful. He says, bein. So he gives a very nice fatherly, but a father that respects the child, suggestion to what to do. He says, this shows a lot of trust in the intellect and the wisdom of the people, the way he says this. So he says, look, whoever you listen to is going to affect you, right? We have to be careful who you listen to. These people are sponsored to cause issues. And now you'd expect him to say, so delete them. But he says, Musallaman, banabarin, ya asasan muwajjeh wa istifade az anha ro tark kunim. Either put them aside totally, or if that's not what you're going to do, you're not going to be able to do that for whatever reason. I'm treating you like an adult, like somebody who's mature. Ya aqallan bas su'e zan farawan ba har chizi ke eraye midan barkhord kunim. Be very skeptical to what they say. Yes. That's very beautiful, the way he respects the people. That look, my suggestion to is put it aside. If you know you're not going to manage to do that, you want to listen for whatever reason, you're an academic, whatever, please be skeptical about what they're saying. They're not there for your good. They're not
Basically,
there
truly
for...
be open-minded. True open-mindedness
Exactly.
means that you are skeptical when you need to be skeptical.
Exactly.
You don't just take any. That's being naive. That's not being open-minded.
Exactly. Yeah. That's being like obedient to what the other person's saying.
And this last thing he says when he's speaking to the people is really beautiful.
Yeah.
He says that, okay, look, life needs to move on,
Yeah.
right? That's the point, right? Life needs to move on.
Yeah.
It's been 40 nights, 40 days, you've been wearing black clothes.
Yeah.
Now you need to put the black clothes aside. The official period, so if you can call it official, right?
The 40 days
the
was
40
announced.
days that was announced is over now. You're going to put back your normal clothes.
Yeah.
Life goes on. But don't forget that the spirit has to stay, right?
It's very beautiful.
And this is beautiful how you manage to take an event that is limited to a certain time, but you're able to carry on the core message throughout your life.
Correct.
I think that's the whole point of this, right? You're doing tarbiyat of a people where an event shapes the rest of your life.
He's cheating. He's got this from Muharram. Right? We take off our black clothes or whatever, but we don't forget Imam Hussein.
Yes, we don't forget Imam Hussein. Exactly.
Right? There's all these mujtahids are cheaters. They get everything they have from the Ahlul Bayt in the Quran.
It's so beautiful how you can see the lives of the Ahlul Bayt represented in these, in his words, in all the events that are happening. You're literally looking at the students of Karbala reenacting the real Karbala, right? It's just amazing. I know you need to go. You're giving us a deadline. It's the end of the time, but I need us to speak about the last paragraph. It's really important. It's where the leader, Sayyid Mujtaba, is actually now ending the letter addressing a completely different person.
Correct.
Right? A person that shifting the tone, a person that we assume to be absent.
Correct.
And he's addressing to him. Go for it.
It's really beautiful the way he does this, addressing the 12th Imam. Really, sometimes we can ask ourselves that how much do we actually remember the 12th Imam? And it's such a time where, it's the end of the war, Iran has come up victorious. It's not the time to remember the 12th Imam just now. It's the time for you to forget, for you to celebrate, to be happy, rejoice.
Like we could do it without.
Exactly, As we managed.
Do we even need it?
For example, but you see the way he addresses the Imam is unbelievable. The way he shows that really these concepts that we have in Islam are something that can be applied. Like you said, the enactment. A true servant. He talks like a true servant. He's the leader just now. You've come into power. Establish yourself. Talk about your power. Talk about your authority. Talk about, the prowess that you have.
What qualifies you for this position.
Exactly. But over here, he completely lowers himself into a state where he's insignificant in front of the 12th Imam and publicly doing this. Right? You could say that this last section, maybe the person was writing it, or if he wrote it and sent it, they put a mistake. Like this was for himself. This is a personal note. No, he wants to teach the world and the people of Iran. This is our faith, and this is the key component of our faith. That, in the end, I want to address my master. Aren't you the leader who's your master? No. This form of leadership is very different. This form of leadership is not the leadership that is there when the Imam is there. This is the leadership that, whilst the Imam isn't there, this is what the Imam has suggested us to go towards. And this leadership is under the authority of the Imam, right? But I want to address my Imam, Faraj Azimi Daram. I humbly state this, that through our Iman in Allah, and through our tawassul to the Ma'asumeen, and following the path of the Shaheed, under your flag. This is a really beautiful word, because there's a lot of people that think that Iran has lifted its own flag. And there's certain hadith that also refer to this, right? They've put up a flag against the 12th Imam. And people even say sometimes, obviously these are very ignorant statements, that, will Iran have the ability to give the flag to the Imam when the Imam... Is that even look at how he's saying it. Essentially, we are under your flag, Imam. Everything we have is yours. We are totally servants. Janabitan, the way he's addressing, nobody addresses any human being like this. This is pure devotion to the Imam. This is pure being a servant and the companion of the Imam.
And again, it's attributing the success not to himself, to his qualities, but back to the Imam. And this question is, do we even need an Imam when we can do it all ourselves? He's saying, no, we're not doing it all ourselves.
So true.
We need the Imam, and it is the Imam who's helping us to do all of this.
And we're negligent and ignorant towards it. But we are standing in the face of kufr and istikbar, the arrogance, this disbelief. And in this path, we've presented and put forward. We've not lost, we've presented and put forward great Shahadah and put them towards the izzah, the honor and the independence of this country, and وَإِعْتِلَاءِ Islam, and the rising of Islam. And truly it's in the hands of this revolution today that Islam is being honored and respected in the world.
In the first episode, I remember Sheikh Asad had pointed this out, that this war is between haqq and batil. And over here he's echoing that. He's saying that we are standing against kufr and istikbar, not against a specific country, not against a specific region. We're standing against kufr, and we are putting the flag of Islam high up. So again, this idea of haqq against batil, the idea of justice against injustice, this is basically the key theme and the key event that's happening right now.
And then he moves on to mention the point that you said, I think you put it really nicely, that he says, we need, with all of our strength, we ask you for your special prayers so that we can be successful. And then he mentions the different areas that we can be successful, whether it be in the talks, whether it be in the war fronts. And we've tied our hearts and all of our hope that we see the effect of this. It's really beautiful. Like he's completely attributed, he spoke about so many different contexts, but the key that's going to end the tone of the whole letter is our devotion to our Imam and our submission towards Imam.
This is an element in the equation that nobody normally considers. When we analyze an event, when analyzing this war, we always look at the military strength, we look at the political awareness of the politicians, we look at the credentials of the people who are going to negotiate, we look at all of this. Nobody actually goes and says, okay, what about the element of Iman and the support of the Imam in all of this? And when we fail to do this and we just judge it by the apparent, sometimes hopelessness comes in. Like, we're fighting this great superpower, are our leaders and these politicians, are there, do they understand what's going on? Firstly, we need to clarify this, that alhamdulillah on the Iranian side, the negotiators are very well,
qualified, well versed, they know what they're
in the
doing.
laws. Again, this is something that one of the analysis was saying recently, that we have PhDs, we understand the law properly. Based on international law, we, for example, blocked the Strait of Hormuz. These are not random, haphazard things because of desperation. We know what we're doing. But on top of all of this, when we're analyzing this, we need to remember, on top of this, the expertise that we have, we also have the support of the Imam. We have Iman, we have belief, we have faith. And this is something that changes the equation completely. It goes beyond what, the petty analysis that's going on. That's why I feel a lot of times the enemy is not able to calculate properly. Because he's calculating with the wrong factors, completely off the whole thing. So I think this is really beautiful how he ended this letter, showing that it goes back to the Imam, it goes back to Iman.
Beautiful. It's really a beautiful way to end it, and it really shows. These are the teachings of the Quran. If you look at Surah Al-Rum speaks, the first few verses of Surah Al-Rum speaks about the battle between the two empires, and it says غُلِبَتِ الرُّوم, right? Rum was conquered. وَهُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ غَلَبِهِمْ سَيَغْلِبُونَ, and they will be defeated after a little while as well. But then the key verse is لِلَّهِ الْأَمْرُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَمِنْ بَعْدُ. But Allah was the one that had control of all the affairs before and after. Don't see these apparent realities, don't let them deceive you, that this person is a superpower. The Romans and the Persians that I mentioned in the verse are the two empires at the time. Allah says, forget all of these. لِلَّهِ الْأَمْرُ مِنْ قَبْلُ وَمِنْ بَعْدُ. Allah is the one that has the control. And you can see that showing itself so beautifully over here.
Ahsan, thank you so much. This was very enlightening, a lot to benefit from this letter. Sometimes we read these kind of letters very fast. We don't get to pick out these important points. So this was really beneficial for myself, firstly, before even anybody else. So I really thank you for that, and I hope we get the tawfiq to do this kind of analysis for other letters by the leader. We've had a few more released since this time. I don't know if we're going to have time to do this. Can we even cope with the speed of,
it's going fast.
Of things? It's going quite fast. But I think at least we can put that effort to try and keep up ourselves in reading what's being said, and when we have questions, to ask those who are aware of these things. And inshallah, if we get the opportunity, then we'll have more of these kind of episodes where we're dissecting the letters and the words of the leadership. Thank you very much, Sheikh Ali. And inshallah, I hope to sit together again next time. Brothers and sisters, this is the battle of narratives. We're trying to present something different to what you might see in the media normally. You can help us out by spreading this content out there. The more outreach we have, the better it is. I mean, it's good to have, alhamdulillah, experienced shuyukh coming here and sharing their knowledge with us. But if that knowledge just stays with us, then we're not helping this battle, right? This a battle of narrative means that we have to get a bigger outreach. And the way you can contribute in all of this, Sheikh is contributing by giving his knowledge, by putting his time, way after the time
Although
he had
both
given
of
us.
You've said it a few times now. Sorry, I'm interrupting this.
I mean,
we benefited
we're
from
benefiting
yourself. No, it's not
from
the case. Anyway, move on.
Thank you
Continue.
very much. The way that you guys can contribute is really take this content and spread it out to your Muslim friends, your family, your non-Muslim friends. There are a lot of, in fact, I'm sad to say this, but non-Muslims might be even more receptive to this than Muslims. Sad in the sense that we would expect more from the Muslim brothers and sisters. But today, I think even non-Muslims will be very receptive to hearing out what is being said. So please do spread this. You're free. You have the permission to take the video, make clips out of it, and spread it out to your friends and family, and that will really help this whole cause, inshallah. So thank you very much, and inshallah until the next episode. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.